how the can pass, and thus swiftly attain the state of Vajradhara. And let's do the 4 contemplations. The 4 limitless contemplations. And these, if you're going to do a very short practice in the morning, it's really good to do these 4 limitless contemplations because they cover everything, and we'll talk about that not right now, but it's really important because these 4 limitless contemplations are everything that we need for ourselves and everyone else. It's the bodhicitta. So let's say it together in English. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semchen tamche dewatang deweju tang den paju chik dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawaju chik dungal mepe dewa tampatang mindrawaju chik nearing chaktang ni tang trawe tangrom chimpola ne paju chik. So tonight, I've called it, just let me get that off. I've called tonight purification and accumulation because those are 2 things that are really important. The vital Buddhist practices out of our psychological mazes. Now, it's really important that we get out of those psychological mazes. And you know, what I want to say to all of you is that I really... I think that this stuff is really important. And I think that a lot of people are texting me and giving me feedback after session. Please do me a favor and butt in if there's anything you want to know, because I'm really, really, really happy to answer. And I think with this kind of teaching, it's most important that we discuss, not that you have a monosyllabic ongoing talk, because I think, first of all, you must get a bit tired of my voice sometime. And I have been doing a lot of talking today. But what I want to tell you is that I like you to interrupt because I like to see what it is that you yourself are needing. Because as soon as you yourself are getting what you want, then it's really important that you can make that jump and that progress in your practices and everything. Everybody's turning on their camera, and I've told you all, I don't mind if you're in bed and you're in your pajamas, divine. Stay in your bed and be in your pajamas because it means you're incorporating the Buddha Dharma in. And so it's really okay to have your cameras on, whatever you're doing and wherever you're going. So I want to start off with the story of Shariputra, who was one of the really important disciples of the Buddha. And I think this really gives us a lot of ideas of where I'm trying to head for everybody. So in the time of Buddha Shakyamuni, the disciple Shariputra, who was the most excellent in primal awareness, so in other words, he was totally aware, well, we'll see if he was, and Brahmajata, from the pure land of Buddha Ashoka. Now, a lot of you will say, what's a pure land? A pure land is when you are in a space that is completely pure, and so are all the beings that you are with in that space. So the 2 of them were debating the qualities of this realm of the 4th universal guide, Shakyamuni. Shariputra argued that the realm of Shakyamuni, that's the realm we're living in, the 4th Buddha, is an impure realm, okay, strewn with rocks and stones and covered in thorn bushes. Just let her in. And covered in thorn bushes, and that Shakyamuni Buddha and his retinue, he said, had shorter bodies than Buddhas residing in other realms. Well, Bodhisattva Brahmajata, who had reached the 8th level of the Bodhisattva path, rejected Sariputra's claim about the inferiority of this Buddha Shakyamuni's realm. He said it wasn't inferior. He maintained that the realm of Shakyamuni, that's the realm we're living in, okay? The 4th universal guide, he's the 4th Buddha of 1,000 Buddhas that will come in the future. He maintained that that we have the same purity as the realm of the Buddha Varashana, the highest Buddha field and source of all Buddha fields. Now, if you look at Varashana, one of the 5 Buddha families, our realm, our human realm, goes right off Varashana like that, okay, which is very important because anything that comes off a most beautiful Buddha, who's the Buddha of Dharmadhatu, the essence, anything that comes off it would be absolutely pure, okay, would really be pure. But what is important to remember is this, that they could not agree upon this issue, and so they decided to approach Shakyamuni Buddha himself for the answer. What Shakyamuni Buddha did, which was very interesting, I wouldn't mind if he was around and he could just do it for us. But what he did was he transformed the world and its beings into a pure realm with his miraculous power in order to dispel the notion of inferior and superior. My realm is always like this, he said. Shariputra was amazed. Shakyamuni asked Shariputra, is it the fault of the sun or the inadequacy of the eye that a blind man cannot see things? Is the sun to blame or is the eye of the man? It is the fault of the eye, Shariputra replied. My realm will always be like the one perceived by Brahmajata, the Buddha told him. The fault of not being able to see it is yours. That's a very interesting, true statement of fact. If the subjective knower, if I'm the knower and I'm pure, then the objective field is experienced as pure. For example, people suffering from jaundice see a white conch as yellow. On recovery, however, they see it as white. Similarly, the clarity of one's faculties determines the beauty and fineness of perception. And when we look at that, devils in hell, those people who are in the hell realms, see ordinary water as molten iron that tortures them. Hungry ghosts see the same water as pus and blood, filthy and loathsome. Animals, the water's merely drinking. Sometimes it's also for pouring over them. And for human beings, it's for drinking and washing. For the gods, the same water is experienced as nectar. And to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who reside in the Pure Lands, water as Buddha consort Mamaki appears as pure Buddha nature. It's similar to all the other elements. So are these various perceptions, are they valid? Everything that appears to the 6 kind of beings does so according to their various karma and is valid for themselves, okay? And so the higher the level of rebirth, the thinner the karmic obscuration and the greater the validity of one's perceptions. Now, I photocopied this because I really think it's amazing. Because what we're looking at here is so many of us go through so much suffering. So many of us have wounds. Lately, I don't know what it is. I'm just seeing lots of people who are going through so much pain and suffering. And the thing is, how do we clear this? How are we going to get past this? Because if you're going through pain and suffering and you believe it to be a negative perception, then you really are going to continue and be completely stuck in it. But if you say to yourself, hang on a moment, I've got these obscurations, I've got these things. This person is really being nasty to me. This job is really not paying me very well. This particular thing is not very helpful to me. If we're able to say that and say, but let me look with pure perception. Let me see what this is in front of my eyes. What is this difficulty? What is this pain and scarring that I can't get over? And when you look from that point of view, suddenly the world starts changing. Because when Patrol Rinpoche went through sickness or anything else, he used to go like this and bow before it and say, thank you very much, because this is clearing everything. This is purifying everything. We go through suffering and we say, not me, not me. Give me happiness. That's all I want. Well, if we came here for happiness, it would be a bit of a waste of time just for happiness. We can have a little happiness. I'm not denying you that. But the point is that what we're looking at is this is a tough schoolroom. And what I'm trying to train myself, truly, I'm trying to train myself to see with pure perception. So what I'm doing is I'm looking very, very deeply at things. So as soon as I've even got a person in front of me and I'm looking at them and I'm perceiving them, I can see they're going wrong. Okay, I can see they're going wrong. But suddenly in my heart, I can see a different picture. I can see a whole picture of how what you're suffering is actually so excellent for you, because this is the way you clear. We're going to look at purification and accumulation. Accumulation is very important because accumulation means merit and wisdom. Without merit, and I'm going to show you that merit is not always just when you do things for people. It's sometimes when you think things for people. It's sometimes when you have a different perception. It's sometimes when you have dedication to your prayers. It's all different things. Merit is accumulated not only by doing beautiful things for people, but by thinking beautiful things in the world. Now, without merit plus wisdom, we haven't got the karmic momentum to have the things we love. And it's really important, this. It's really important for you all to understand, okay? And the Buddha was in the jungle and he picked up a handful of leaves and asked his companions, which is more, the leaves in the jungle, or the leaves in the whole jungle, or the leaves I'm holding in my hand? Okay, so they replied, well, it's obvious. The leaves in the jungle are infinite, and you're only holding a few. And the Buddha said, so it is with what I know as an enlightened being, as a Buddha, and what I'm telling you. But what I'm telling you is all you need to become enlightened. The rest is not important for you to know now. Such a beautiful story, because it's true. I'm trying to say, if you can do even a little bit of, I'm coming to you to look at what you say, if you can even do a little bit of practice that changes your whole perception, then you have changed what you are seeing. Now, actually, when I do look deeply, like in my meditation, and we're going to do some of it just now, when I look deeply in my meditation, what I'm seeing now is the expression of the essence, this pure light, this rainbow color, this wisdom that comes out of the essence. We can train our minds to do this. But even with a little bit of leaves, but if we hooked on our neurotic fixations, thanks, Igor, for your camera, Jean, you push Rich on your camera. If we are hooked into our neurotic fixations, our obsessions, our wounds, our scars, if we hooked into that, we cannot see because our human mind dilutes the experience. And that's what the Buddha taught Shariputra. I'm coming to you now, that if you can change your mind, which is what we're going to do in these sessions and discuss, then you can see it differently, what you're going through. Yes, Esty, unmute yourself.
I would like to share something. Last week, you used the sentence, are we prisoners of our beliefs? And, you know, because I texted you that I have chronic sciatic pain. And I was thinking, why did it flare up last week? I'm much better now, but why did it flare up? And I went through my beliefs. And you also said that if something happens like a childhood pain and it suddenly surfaces, it's like it happened all over again. And I was just thinking, what actually happened? I was thinking about my mother dying when I was 12, which you know, and I was so angry with her. So for 3 years, we never discussed it. It was the 50s. We never discussed it. I was very angry with her. And I went for therapy, but no one said to me, you need to forgive her. And I was lying in bed with pain last week, and I said, oh my goodness, I forgive my mother. I forgive her for dying. And then I thought, so why did it suddenly happen? So what did evoke it? Because my mother died when I was a child, I thought she never loved me because she left me. Exactly. And then 5 years ago, after 50 years of marriage, my husband left me. So I'm unlovable. And then, oh my goodness, am I a prisoner of my beliefs?
Bravo.
Thank you.
Amazing. And thank you for sharing that, because it's so beautiful. Because what we don't understand is when we've got difficulties of abandonment, you know, when we feel it, and people say to me, of course, well, I'm not to blame. You know, my mother's not to blame. She didn't have any choice. She just died on me. But the child inside feels abandoned, even though people tell her, well, mommy couldn't help it. That was her time to die. What does that mean to a child? The child knows that the mommy's gone and that's all. And it's such an interesting thing because maybe and this is what I say to a lot of people, they've got themes in their lives, you know, similar themes in their lives that keep happening to them. And when they happen to you, one should say, wow, what am I supposed to learn from this? What didn't I clear up before? And if you could do that, bravo, because that's amazing. You won't need to go through that again, okay? Because it's done and it's learned and you've seen. And the pain we carry, and I'm going to do, when we finish this series, I want to do something on illness and how Buddhism looks at illness, you know, and that kind of thing. I want to do something on that later on. But what I really want to say, yay, Abby, so nice to see you. What I want to say to all of you is, it's so important to understand that the Buddha said, all you need are these few leaves of the jungle to get enlightened. And those few leaves are to be able to let go of all your neuroses, your fixations, your wounds, your scars, because they're all right. They all happened because actually they come from your own creation, or rather than saying that, what you need, what this lifetime was given to you, what you needed, that's what you got, not what you wanted, what you needed. And if you can see that, then you're already starting to see with pure perception, and it doesn't have to happen again. Danny, I want to see what you asked. on the thought, but you can't always control your thoughts. They just come in. You can control what you do with them in next thought, but thoughts are waves. Yeah, but that's a very important question, Danny, because the thing is, we can't stop our thoughts. Some people can, but most of us can't stop ourselves from thinking. But that next part you talk about, and we're going to do shamatha and vipassana in a few moments. But what you're looking at here is, it is your response to the thoughts. Because what most people do is, when they have a thought, and it might be a negative thought about someone, they might say, oh gosh, I'm so scared of what's going to happen at work tomorrow. Okay. Okay, you're afraid of what's going to happen at work tomorrow. It's a big day and you don't know what's going to happen. You've got that fear. But what you need to do with that thought, that fear, is you need to allow it out of your hands, the balloon out of your hands. Now, what most people do is they can get to let the thought of fear go, if there was anything to go, be, if it's better to let be. But 5 minutes, 1 minute, half a minute later, they've gone to fetch it again. They've gone to pick it up again. And now it's another dissection. But what if? But what if this happens? But what if that happens? But what if I do this? And then they go, oh, I'm trying to do my shamatha. Let the thought go. Open your hands. I always tell people to open their hands and let the balloons out. And they let it out. Catch it in 2 minutes. That is how SEM, the human mind, is trained. And we need to learn to leave it alone. As James Lowe's guru says, blah, 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 blah. He says, just stop. Let it be. Don't go back and pick it up. Blah, 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 blah again. Stop. End it and let it go. It's really important, because it's kind of, a lot of people might do many practices, and maybe even with a bit of sincerity, but never penetrate to the Buddha nature, the heart. And others might just choose one short practice. And that's why I want to explain the Nundra. I don't want to teach you the Nundra. You can go to Alan, and we've got lots of videos that Alan's made of them, and he's really the expert. I don't want to teach the practices. I want to look at what they are for, how we can take our neuroses, our pains, our wounds, and how these practices are designed to clean the energy winds. If you all remember that the energy winds run in your body, this energy wind in the central body is what we call the non-dualistic channel. It's where there's no good and no bad. It just is. But unfortunately, most of us, from grasping on the thoughts, are not able, coming to you now, Danny, are not able to pick it up. Okay, we can't stay in that non-dualistic channel. So it goes straight into, in women, the left channel, in men, the right channel. Those are the energy winds of all our karma, the karmic winds, the turmoil, the negative emotion, all of those things are really important. That's where it goes. So others might just choose one short practice. I mean, if all of you did the Guru Yoga every day, and I promise you it would not take you more than 15 minutes, if you did the Guru Yoga, what would happen is, after a certain amount of time, you feel the body, the speech, and the mind start to clear, start to unite with that Buddha nature. It's a practice that really helps us to wake up. Now, the Buddha gave 84,000 practices, okay? And the practices, the success of them depends on, number one, how much merit we accumulated in previous lives. Like, some people come to the Dharma they get there and they just say, oh, I love it. It's for me. I just love it. I relate to it. They really, really love it. And others can't because they don't have that merit. Now, the point is that never, never, and I'm saying this to you, Taluk, never, ever must any religion or practice or way of being, must it never dictate to you and not feel good for you. Do you know what I'm trying to say? In other words, if it doesn't resonate with you, drop it. Don't ever go on doing it. Because I just want to say this, and I look at your question, Danny. So it depends on, number one, what merit we've accumulated in previous lives, and number two, how much garbage, neuroses, fixations, wounds, scars cover over the diamond of our true nature. Because if there's a lot, it's really, really, really hard. And one thing is clear, we require our pristine awareness. It's our inheritance. Pristine awareness is our inheritance to determine what we need to do to clear out the garbage and penetrate to what is called in Tibetan Tigla Natchik, which means the heart of the awakened nature. And that's what we were talking about over these weeks. Sorry, Dan, have you written your question? Or do you want to ask it? Ask it.
I was just gonna ask with the thoughts, so you're saying how thoughts just come in and they're nothing and they're like no thing and we must just let them go. I just like I find it a bit of like a contradiction because also you say like our thoughts do create, even our thoughts create merit. But we can't always control our thoughts, especially our initial thoughts that just come into our head based on our.
We don't, but we can, okay? When we've trained, we can. Yeah, sorry, just to correct you.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, but we don't because we want our human mind to indulge. Carry on.
But then are you saying then if you do have a negative thought that like an intrusive thought or whatever, that can cause a negative karmic
You know,
merit?
you know what, Danny? It's not like, I mean, if people have negative thoughts in the world, I mean, and they do, and we can see the result, overall. Just look at the world at the moment. You can see the result. But what is very interesting is that, no, not if you, I mean, unless you actually have a real negative thought for someone and you keep on sending that negative thought to them, ugly thought on and on because you really want them destroyed or you're jealous of them, whatever. Yeah, that could have a negative karmic effect. But a little thought, a little thought that you have, who does she think she is or whatever, if you're able to drop it and say, I don't even have the right to do that, to think that, if you're able to drop it quickly, it's not going to have much of a karmic imprint. Karmic imprints really come with the intent. It's the intention that you have. If you think a negative thought, but you have no intention to harm the being or harm the person or anything, it's not really any negative, it's not really a terrible thing to think a thing, but it is good to be aware and try not to think negative thoughts. But sometimes I come into my shrine room and I'm really cross with someone and I say something, and then I swallow it and drop it after that. I've said it and it's gone and I drop it. So I think it's got to be a little more intention to actually, before it actually does have a real karmic impact. Because, that's the way we are human-wise. We just are often, sucked in. Just let me see this. Talo, aren't thoughts like a radio wavelength tuned to the karmic vibration that is radiated? And as we move through the stations of vibration, we can skip them or drop them or get stuck accordingly. I like that. Yeah. Because I think that if we understand the word energy wind. And if I ever get to teach about it, I've got a whole lot of stuff to teach you about it. Seems like I don't know, I get waylaid all the time when I'm doing it, but I don't think it matters. But yes, I think when we go, I think that our energy gives out masses and masses of things. And this story, Danny, this little story will tell you a lot, just to give you an idea. Once upon a time, in the deep mountain forests, there lived an old monk and a young monk. The old monk was a great practitioner of Buddha Dharma and was frequently in deep meditation. Normally, when he started meditation, it could last for half a day or a full day. In addition, during his meditation, he would know what was always going to happen in the future. One day, the old monk meditated again. Suddenly, he found out that his little disciple was going to pass away in 8 days. Therefore, the old monk called the young monk and said, "My child, I'm going to give you an 8-day holiday so you can really go home to see your father and mother." "Really, that's very good. Thank you, Shifu," said the young monk. "In fact, lately I've been feeling a little homesick too, which is unusual for people to admit when they are monks." He says, "However, you must remember to come back here by the 8th day." "Okay, Shifu, please take care of yourself. I'm leaving now. Go home now." Delightedly, the young monk went down the mountain without realizing that in the eyes of the old monk there was sadness and a sense of reluctance. They'd been together a long time to see him leave. After a long walk, the young monk stopped at the bank of the stream to drink some water as he was getting thirsty. There he saw there was an ant cave in which countless ants were going into and out of it. He stayed to observe a while with interest. When he was just about to leave, "Oh, why is the water level of the stream rising? Oh no, all the ants will be drowned." The reason was it had been raining upstream for a few days continuously. Therefore, the water level downstream was starting to rise. He quickly took off his cloth and put some hard soil in it and made up a protection wall along the cave. Not only did he manage to stop water from covering the cave, but also skillfully diverted the flow of water to somewhere else. Hence, he saved the lives of countless ants. 8 days passed quickly. The old monk was strolling in the mountain forest sadly. Suddenly, from a distance, he saw the little monk coming up back from the mountains very cheerfully. Happily, he asked the young monk to recount what he had done in the past 8 days while he was away. When he pondered the story, he finally understood that because the young monk had saved the lives of countless ants, this had caused his 8-day life expectancy to lengthen into a long and happy life. This is the merit of cultivating deeds like that, however seemingly insignificant they might be. Now, it's a very interesting story. I've collected a number of stories. Let me just get that off. I've collected a number of stories for you like that to show you. So, okay, here he had the thought and then he did the action that went with it. And so whatever was going to cut his life short was now extended. And that often happens for people. But what's important is when we do accumulation, that you understand both merit and wisdom need to go together. Most of us, even when we have merit, haven't got the wisdom to actually put them together. So it's important, all of that. So what is clear is, in thousands of the teachings that the Buddha gave is the following. Number one, very important. We have to calm the mind. We have to settle the mind. Shamatha or shine in Tibetan, clearing the water so the mud can sink to the bottom. You're clearing the obscuration so that you've got clear water so that it's calm. Number two, we can't stop there. We can't stop there. Why? Some people stop and they say, well, I can meditate for hours and hours, and I don't have many thoughts. I just sit and I'm in a lovely, peaceful, calm meditation. To what avail? It's very important to have a clear mind. But if you don't take the step further, that will never lead you to your enlightened mind. You have to learn to look into the pool and see. We have to take the tool, pristine awareness, our clear awareness, not the awareness of our human mind, which says this is bad, this is good. We're looking in Vipassana or Laktung in Tibetan. We're looking. Why? Because we have to know, not think, know what is there in our pool. We have to look in it and we have to know what it is that is blocking our penetration to our true nature. It's really important. And that's what I've been teaching you, because what we have to find a way to know what is going on with us. Now, all I can tell you, and you can debate this with me, I often point out to people what is going on with them, because I can see clearly what they are doing repetitively over and over again, or not what they're doing, what is being done to them, over and over and over again. It's easy for me to see the repetitive nature. Now, when you see the repetitive nature, that is what you're looking into the pool. You've got to get it. It's got to not be an analysis of the mind. You can do Vipassana with an analysis. We're going to do it in 5 minutes. You can do Vipassana with an analysis of the mind, but that's not it. It's when you can sit, and I'm going to give you some of the beautiful master's instructions on this. It is when you can sit and suddenly know, suddenly get it. Your human mind can't get it, but your Buddha awakened mind, Sem-ni, can, knows, understands. So when Esther gave us her example, thank you very, very much, because she's lying in bed last week, she can't even move her back. Then we had a dialogue after that, and we looked at what is it when your spinal column is injured. We looked at the discs in which it was injured. And the main thing that came out of this, correct me if I'm wrong, because it was a while ago that I did it, was a feeling of a lack of support. You feel not supported. Now, so many people who haven't got a beautiful husband or a beautiful partner or a person that's there, they feel unsupported. They feel alone. But when you suddenly get it, you say, oh my goodness, I was supposed to be alone, because for 300 incarnations, I've been running away from this. And what the universe is asking me is to sit alone and get it. And once I get it, what will happen to it, like everything that comes out of the essence, dissolves back. Even the realm I was talking about that the Buddha said, that's a pure realm, but it also dissolves back into the essence. It's a pure illusory realm. Ours is an impure illusory realm. Everything's illusion. This body, what I'm saying, it's all just my perception. As you said, Taluk, it's these waves that we put out, that we go through as we're going through, and the waves are full of the energy winds, are full of the karma. And what's our karma on a relative level? Our karma is that which we created and set up before, and we now have to clear it. And when we have to do some preliminary practices to clear the garbage and arrive at a place where our energy winds are running calmly and our understanding of the practice is clear and deep. When it is, then we can do the Vajrayana practice, which is the deity practice. Now, I can't tell you how many people say to me, but Melanie, Modisa, let's see what you're saying. But so many people say to me, sorry, the story of the monks said you essentially function at a level of low, because I read up on the principles of attaining enlightenment. The process of reaching enlightenment is a vertical process of reaching up to the divine from the root of the crown. But in order to take the journey vertically, one must first be aware of and engage the world horizontally. I quite agree with you. So basically, love all creatures within this plane, animals, plants, and humans alike, to be able to truly appreciate the wonders and essence of the divine. And then you will move. Listen, I agree, Modisa, so much with what you're saying. I think that's so right. But remember one important thing, one very important thing. Ants, animals, all of them have Buddha nature. They have awakened nature, which is so interesting. I'm coming to you just now. They have awakened nature. It's just that they're at different points of the evolvement. But if you watch ants, they are my favorite things actually to watch. Because if you even touch your finger near the ant, it's off. How does it know? How does it also know how to protect its babies? How do animals know this? They know this because they have that instinctive nature. And we can learn from them. I don't know if any of you have watched the series, what's it called? It's illustrated by that beautiful film star. But anyway, it's how the earth, how all the things synchronize, the synchronicity of the planet and, everything on the planet, which is so much what you're saying. And it's true. What you're saying is true. So merit can often come by your younger brothers, by helping, by serving, and by being aware, which is really important. But when you find the Vajrayana practice, the deity practice, when you do it, it's one of the most wondrous things imaginable because it teaches you about the whole creation. It teaches you about everything. If we look at the way creation is done in the Bible, in the beginning there was darkness, which is not the truth. In the beginning there was light, but anyway, there wasn't light that we could maybe see, but it was the essence. Then they take a dualistic approach. And then there was God. And God created the world. Okay, now as soon as you have that, you're on a relative level dualistic, because it means you are at the mercy of something outside of you. Whereas as soon as you are able to see that the God is in you, that we are all responsible for the creation, it stops being a dualistic thing. And that's when we can understand that if you've got pain, I've got pain. I look at your pain, it hurts me too. When we feel this, it's called Maitri, loving kindness. Then the world will start to change to an age of enlightenment. But we're so busy with our duality all the time, everything outside ourselves. So when we actually do the Vajrayana practice, then we are really able to see out of the essence. The essence is not an essence. The essence is the essence. We all made from it. Comes the beautiful, pure creation, the luminosity, the awareness. And then that might shape into something. It might shape into beautiful colors. And then it goes back. And what promotes that? What promotes that whole thing? The awareness and the mantra recitation, which is the energy which takes it out. Now, when we look at this, it's absolutely amazing, because when we can see this from doing the practices, we begin to understand the way we are and the way the world is. So somebody else, did you want to ask the question? You had one? I'm reading them off. Just let me see. When you speak of merits, are you referring to the benefits of the quality of being good and deserving praise? No, which is what the dictionary definition is of. If so, what influence does wisdom have on this in practice? Do you mean some sort of discernment? Yes, you've got it. Absolute discernment. There are 5 wisdoms, and one is called the wisdom of discernment. Okay, you can even call it the wisdom of discrimination. Now, what happens is that if you take the 5 poisons, which you can go back and listen to, if you take the 5 poisons, okay, anger, delusion or ignorance, anger or hatred, pride, pride, what's the 4th one? Pride and
desire, craving.
Desire and craving, and the 5th one,
envy and jealousy.
Yeah, envy and jealousy. Those are the 5 main.
I have it in front of me.
Oh, good. Those are the 5 main things. I mean, I know them off by heart, but when I'm thinking too many things. But when you look at those, if you turn those around, which we've done, and you can go and listen to it, they are the 5 wisdoms. And one of those wisdoms is discernment or discrimination, which you've picked up. And that means when you can discern the difference between what is relative and what is ultimate. It's that pure perception that can actually discern. It's beautiful. How you've thought that out is absolutely stunning. So tonight, I wanted to really look at purification and accumulation, because the accumulation is merit and wisdom. The purification is the purification of all our rubbish, all our obsessions, all our things we attach to, all our scars, all our woundedness, all our psychology. None of it is even true. So I'm just getting bumped off. So let's start tonight with 2 practices, shamatha and vipassana. Okay, so we're just going to do short practices. And then during the week, try them out. Okay, it's really important that you practice, because you get better and better and better. So let's do shamatha. Okay. So I want you to sit for now in your meditation posture. When you have got your shamatha a little bit, you can do it when you're walking around. You can do it when you're cooking. You can do it when you're sitting in your office for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. You can do it anywhere, but it's quite important in the beginning to do it in a quiet place with your spinal column straight and your hands on your lap, left over right, on your lap, and your shoulders nicely back, and your chin a little bit tucked in. I'm just giving you the posture, and I'll tell you why the posture is important. Not to be anal, but just because when you've got the right posture, then the energies can run correctly. So in the beginning, it's important. However, and it would be nice if you could sit cross-legged, one leg in front of the other, or in a half lotus if you can. If you can't, you could sit on a chair with your feet flat on the ground, but that's not as good. Reason being that when you sit cross-legged, the energy remains within your own place. So for shamatha, you can either have shamatha with an object, or shamatha just somasua, just as it is. So Patricia, you don't need an object. I know you've been meditating for years and years and years. Just be present, okay? For if you want an object, I think the breath is always good for shamatha. You're breathing in to the count of 3 or 4 and out to the count of 3 or 4. Coming to this present moment, but be careful. A lot of people hack the present moment, but sometimes they are attached to the present moment. In our shamatha meditation, we always leave the eyes open, or at least half open. The reason is because we don't want to black out, we don't want to blot out, we want to be present. So your eyes open is very important. You can make them a little bit half shut if you like, but also when your eyes are open, you're able to do the vipassana so much better. So you leave your eyes at least half open, breathing in and out. If you need that thing to keep you going, you just breathe in and out and keep your focus on that if you need a focus. If you don't need a focus, you can just let it go. Don't make it too hectic, the breathing. The past is gone. The future hasn't been made. And you are awakening. But right now, with shamatha, you are just calming the water. You're not falling asleep. You're calming the water. And you're staying quite still. And thoughts start coming, millions, especially when you haven't done meditation for a long time. Millions of thoughts like a waterfall. Let them just wash over you. Let the thoughts be. As they come into your head, open your hands and let the thoughts be. And you've got that sharp tool of awareness, watching how you go back and pick up the thought again. And go back and pick up the thought. No, you bring the mind back to the breath, back to the moment, and you're breathing again. Another thought, another thought, another thought. Just let them be. Because if you look deeply at them, they're all made of the essence. Good thoughts, bad thoughts are all made of the essence. Therefore, they will just come back to the essence if you don't hold on to them, if you don't dissect, if you don't analyze, if you don't use SIM, your human mind, to pick them up again. Just let them be. As many as they are, as long as you are not distracted, you are breathing in and out. You know when you are distracted and you are going after a thought. Quickly bring the mind back and be in this moment. So you can do that for a half an hour, for an hour, for 5 minutes, for 3 minutes, for 1 minute. It's all okay. Now we're going straight onto a quick vipassana exercise, okay? So go back into your calm state. What I'm saying is, I'm not asking you to meditate hours and hours. I'm just asking you, even if you're at the office, to sit on a chair and do 3 minutes of shamatha is so beautiful. Your mind is clear. You can do your work much better. When you're walking to work or you're walking somewhere, you can still practice your shamatha. Once you get into it and try and keep your spinal column straight, so you're bringing all the energy in. Now let's just do exactly 5 minutes of vipassana. The good side of shamatha is that it is free from these disturbing emotions. The bad side of shamatha is that in itself it does not lead to liberation from samsara and all your things. It only becomes a cause of liberation when embraced by vipassana. The realization of all Buddhas is described as a unity of shamatha and vipassana. What is vipassana? The correct practice of shamatha further and further strengthens the alertness quality, the awareness. It transforms into an increasing sense of being awake. The sense of being settled requires less and less effort. You are just naturally present, and this becomes more and more of the same identity as the alertness is there, and until finally the alertness pulls the state into something that is no longer just shamatha. It has become vipassana, the state of seeing clearly. Now, the clarity is one of your most important points of everything in your vipassana. If your mind is hazy and still, that's not it. If you're hazy and sleepy, that's really not it. You've got to have a certain sense of what is called shoshuk, the practice of sustaining freshness in order to develop the power of vipassana. So it's almost a beautiful, alert, awake practice of sustaining freshness and being able to really look deeply into your mind. If you are at that stage, and not everybody is, so don't worry about it if you're not, but if you're at that stage, it's really important that you are able to start to say, when you look into the pool of calmness, what is my mind? Only for those that need it. Skip it if you don't need it, but I'm just giving it to you. What is my mind? Does it have a shape? I'm looking clearly. Does it have a shape? Does it have a form? Does it move? Is it still? Is it dark? Where does it come from? Where is it going to? How does it look? If you find nothing, no thing, then you've begun the path of vipassana. You can do this a couple of times, looking at the mind and asking, does it have a shape? Does it have a form? Where does it come from? Where is it going to? All the questions. But when you come to the higher practices, you don't want to be asking the questions. You want to be relaxing naturally and have 3 parts to you. Clarity. The clearness is what's important. As you are looking into the pool, you are seeing what it is that is there. You're not judging it. You're not picking it up. You're not analyzing it. You're taking the clarity of your pristine awareness and shining it on. If any of you are going through a very difficult time, and I know a few of you are, then allow yourself to see that whatever you're going through is not dark, and have clarity as you look deeply into the mind. See that whatever it is clearly will dissolve. It has no permanence. It has no shape. It didn't come from anywhere. It isn't going anywhere. So what am I doing with it? I'm actually taking it and I'm actually making it into something that it isn't. And so I want you to just allow it to be, but be in a total state of clarity, totally. And then the second point in your Vipassana is awareness or recognition, re-knowing with awareness. So when you're looking into the pool of your mind, even if there is something that is untoward, wounding, scarring, worry, grief, whatever it is, pain, you're looking directly at it with awareness. And you're not thinking, what is it? You're recognizing it for what it is. It's there. It's impermanent. It's not me. And it will pass. You aware as you look at it. You're not bound by it. And the third point that Taisitu gives in Vipassana is non-grasping, uninvolved. So as you look with clear seeing and limitless seeing, you are not grasping. You are surrendering. You are opening. You are allowing. And you are present. And whatever it is that you see in your Vipassana, it is impermanent. It is actually no thing. It's a creation of the mind, and it will go back into the essence. You see it. You're aware of it. You have absolute clarity and non-grasping and pristine awareness. Anything can happen. Anything can be known because of clarity. Otherwise, we get lost in the daydream of life. Just to recognize with clarity that which is. Just to read you what Dilgo Kienzi says about thoughts. The towns and countryside that the traveler sees through a train window do not slow down the train, nor does the train affect them. Neither disturbs the other. This is how you should see the thoughts that pass through your mind when you meditate. Even the kitty came to meditate. So anybody want to say anything? You have to practice this a lot, you know, because it's fun. I mean, some people take you through Vipassana and you go, what's the mind? Where's the mind? Does it have a shape? Does it have a color? Does it? I'm done with all of that, you know, but you can do that if that's what you need to find out. You are doing an investigation, but of a different nature. You are beginning to see with clarity and awareness these wounds, these things, they are no thing. When you see, Esty, that you don't have to attach to people being near you, looking after you, being there, whatever. when you actually see that you are made so sufficiently enough, with enough of everything, then you stop the grasping and you accept. It's like a deep acceptance that happens. Done. Ask.
I
Very
was gonna I'm just a bit a bit confused about, so shamatha is just like basically getting meditation and getting like clear and like just getting in the zone, so to speak. And then is vipassana then just like pondering, or is it like pondering specific questions, or what exactly?
No, you see, you know, if you actually go and Google Vipassana, and you'll see that there are lots of people, especially in the mindfulness movement, I think, that do Vipassana with a whole series of questions. What is mind? And then you can answer it if you want while you're doing the Vipassana. I don't do it like that. I like to I like to do it according to the Dzogchen teachings, which actually tell you, you know, that just being present, being clear, being undisturbed, having all the energy in the central channel, you suddenly know that it does take time to build up. Okay, you just know, you see clearly into the pool of your mind. And when you see clearly into the pool of your mind, makes a huge difference, because it actually tells you that, say, for instance, like I want to hear what, oh, he's not here, Jean, I win. I really want to hear, like, people who are going through struggles, if they do the shamatha and then the vipassana, it's kind of a knowing. So let's say you lost your mother recently, okay? So there's definitely a grieving process that you're going through at the moment. So you're sitting in shamatha, even if thoughts of grief or thoughts of I should have done this, or I couldn't do this, or I haven't got to, that's fine when you do your shamatha. When you do your vipassana, it's kind of just allowing that, looking in with clarity and seeing what is there, what this was about, but not in an analytical way, in a clear way of knowing. Like when I look at you, I know what had to happen for you by this loss, you know. And if I look at a lot of you, I know what had to happen to you through the things that you've gone through. So it's kind of not an analysis of it. It's just a feeling of looking in and knowing I'm in the right place at the right time. This that I'm going through is just going to dissolve over time. It's just going to end of its own accord if I don't go in and break the whole thing and analyze and whatever. It's a feeling of knowing. Now, it's interesting because when I'm sitting with people, I often know I can see what they're going through, but they can't. Okay. It doesn't help if I can see and they can't. But this Vipassana makes people see. Now, what Esty was doing after the group was lying there, and we discussed what all the things were. She wasn't doing an analysis. She was doing a realization, you know. So you might drop into the pool. Why is it that I feel abandoned? You may know that the abandonment is there, but suddenly you see that abandonment through that pure perception, and it's okay. And at that point, the pain with it dissolves instantly when people know. You know, people sometimes go, "Ah, I get it. I get it." You know, suddenly you can see a little bulb light, a light bulb coming on in a person. That's what Vipassana is, to do the shamatha, which is the calm abiding, and then the looking in. I can't say to you, do this, do this, do this. You can do those things I told you to do if you want. But when you've done them, It's just a sitting still and looking, especially if you're uncomfortable or you're in pain. Just hang on, the difference of looking. Let me just see all your great things. Just hang on. The difference of looking at thoughts in the swirling pool of mud stirred from the bottom to staring at the mud through settled clear water where you can see the micro and macro systems at work, if you will. Okay. The thing is that that's a lovely analysis of it, but actually, look, it goes right away from analysis, because it's not analyzing. It's a feeling of knowing. That's what I'm trying to teach you. And then as you do the Nondra practices, you get more and more knowing.
It's beingness, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's knowing. You can do the questioning. You can say, what's my sadness about? Let me look deeply. But that's not it. It's not a mind process. It's a feeling inside you that you get. And suddenly you go, oh, you can see. You can see, it's like the things that the world is giving you. Like I told them when I was doing the dream work with the morning group, I told them as a young woman, I used to have these dreams where I was on the floor, on the ground, and the aeroplane was in the sky, and the aeroplane crashed in front of my eyes. Sometimes I'd feel a little bit of the crash. Sometimes it would just crash in front of my eyes. I never understood it. I was working with this psychiatrist, and I asked him about it, but he couldn't tell me. Really, gave me like a psychological explanation. I said, no, this is a repetitive dream that I keep getting, and I need to know what it is. And then one day, I got it. Just from looking deeply, I thought, if your ego is flying high, if you need to really be a true instrument in your Buddha Dharma, that ego needs to crash right in front of your eyes. Okay. And as soon as I knew that, it never came again, the dream. It never, ever came again, because I really understood that I had been in a previous lifetime and had failed because of an ego interfering. And so this lifetime, whenever the ego interferes, whenever I think things about myself, or how dare you say this, straight away, I'm thrown in somewhere. If somebody gives me a compliment, someone else gives me an insult. Okay, on the same minute. And then I know it's because you don't attach to what is going on in your life. The things that are going on are perfect for what you need right now in your life. So I still haven't got to purification and accumulation. What else do you want? I don't mind, because you know what? I want to, but it really, just hang on. Done. Say that, Danny, aloud.
Or I was just gonna say, it seems like like basically the differentiator of whether you're just analyzing or whether you're like looking with a bird's eye view is whether you feel like, oh, I've got it. But I mean, some people feel that way about things that are objectively wrong. Like they feel that they're like vehement in like whatever they feel, but it's not like, doesn't make it right.
Yeah, but I don't know. So what are you telling me? That because they're not tuned in at that level, they're just analyzing. When you analyze, it doesn't change you. When you do a Vipassana session that tells you something, messages you, gives you the clarity without analysis. See, your human mind intervenes. And by the time I'm finished with you, your human mind is not going to intervene. You're just going to be, as Taluk said, you're going to be. And you've got got the energy. And I don't mind how many times you ask me 1,000 questions. I'm very happy that you ask them, because any of the questions in your mind, you need to work them out. You need to see them, everybody. You need to know them, because that shamatha and vipassana, you can do it many times a day for a few minutes. It doesn't have to be a whole big palaver of a practice, but it's like you've got this tool. I always take, the thing from the what's her name, and I go, it's your tool. Pristine awareness is your tool. It just shines a light on what is there, and you don't have to analyze it. If you're going through pain in your life, look at all these things I'm going through. They are showing me what needs to shift in my consciousness so that I can be free. I don't want any of you to come back for another human incarnation unless by choice. I mean, I want you all to be free at the end of this life, not to go into the bardos with all those imprints, and then it catapults you again, and then another life of suffering. It's enough. All of you are here because you have the merit to learn this. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have the merit. There are people that I say, why haven't I seen you? Oh, Melanie, I've got this, and I've got that, and I've got the other, and I've got the other, and they just don't get there. They don't get to the path in any way. You have to have that merit. It's very important. So like Rob Priest says, I mean, I haven't even got time to do it, that he says that the preliminary practices, the Nondro, embark on a process of the groundwork that we need, okay? He says, there's a real hazard that practice may become polluted with our psychological and emotional confusion, in which case tantric practice, which is the deity practice, doesn't clear the confusion, but actually exacerbates it. Now, James Lowe gives a beautiful, beautiful thing on that. And he says like this, he says, in Tantra, when you do the deity, the Vajrayana, there's a breaking of boundaries. And he says, you kind of break that boundary of everything. That's why a lot of them do the practice in a cemetery or a charnel ground, it used to be in Tibet, in a cemetery where it's really a kind of anxiety transformed into excitement, so the heart energy can be used for liberation. And he says, Padmasambhava, when you read his life story, his power arises from his fearlessness. He's not overcome by anxiety. He doesn't turn away from situations. He goes right into them and uses them for liberation. And he says, Vajrayana or Tantra at its root is about ecstasy. And he says, what is ecstasy? It comes from the Latin word ecstasis. And what does that mean? It means a stepping out of yourself. Then you recognize yourself. It's not a self. It's not Melanie. It's not who you think you are. This self is constructed from all our assumptions, from our karma, from our habitual tendencies. That's why in the Vajrayana we visualize ourselves as the deities, the qualities, and we move out of our ordinary sense of self, and we're free to act in a different way. Kati, you're very quiet tonight. I haven't even heard you. Are you tired?
It just, nothing is coming to mind to say tonight, Mel. I don't know why.
No problem. No problem. It doesn't matter if it doesn't. I'm just saying it's quite funny to have you so quiet.
I know.
But that's fine. If you're getting what you need, that's absolutely fine. Because what we need to get is a stable vessel that can actually take these practices. Now, you know, in the West, we just want to go to the highest practices. We want to skip things. We really don't want to do the unaddressed pain that we have. And people make a mistake because they come into Buddhism and they get excited about it and they think it's going to take away all this psychological stuff. And it doesn't. The psychological stuff becomes highlighted because people are really, really right there looking at things that they have to look at. And so it's really important. And he said the preliminaries really helped him to go to a deeper level of his psychology. It's like really, really important. And he says he would have benefited from a more psychological understanding of what he was doing. And he said each preliminary practice has an effect on us, and we really, really, really need to look at that. And we have to clear ourselves of the history of past events and what's happened in this event. So it's really important that you actually understand this purification, which we'll do next time. Sorry about that, but I really wanted to get there. But what's very important is that purification, okay, you can look at the signs and the symptoms of purification. I'm coming to you now. Purification, you clear these energy winds of blocks, imbalances, and toxicity. You may experience the energy moving around in your body. Now, when I started Nondra and did the preliminaries, I could feel the energy moving around in my body. Okay, so clearly it needed to move around. And I told you last week that Lama Yeshe Rinpoche said that the prostrations are one of the best physical exercise you could ever do for your body. Okay, so it's amazing to prostrate flat. He said from a physical point of view and from the energies, a real expert at the energy wind, it's absolutely amazing. So I'll just end and then we'll go into it in detail. The word Buddha in Tibetan is Sanje. And Sanje, Sangwa means cleansed or purified of all your obscurations. And Jepa means having generated all the qualities that you need. So clearing and generating the qualities you need. Now, when you look at the Nondra, even some people just do the 4 mind changes that I was doing last week. And trust me, that changes a multitude of things for you in your life. When you do those 4 thoroughly and properly, it changes a multitude of things for you. So it's really, really important that you understand that when the Buddha gave these practices, he gave them knowing that we were human beings going through all these things and knowing that we needed to clear them. Once cleared, oh my goodness, what a life. I mean, once you cleared, you become lighter, you become absolutely everything that you need to do. You become it all. So next week, what we're going to do, I'll just look at your question. Next week, I'm going to really go straight into the purification and the accumulation and what each practice means, what it is actually doing for you. And then maybe a lot of you might want to do it. Even if you do a bit, I'm not asking you to do 100,000 of everything. But someone like you, Fiona, you need to do that Nondra to go through it, especially your seriousness and earnestness on the path. And you, Kerry, you know, you need to go through that because that's what's going to really clear. But you don't have to do many. You just have to understand what the nature of the practice is about. Taluk, you wanted to say something? Sorry, let me just get you. Once I'm reading. Just hang on a moment. I love all your things. There's so much. No, that wasn't you. What was yours? I don't see anything. Did you want
Shall
to
I
ask?
just read it to you?
Please
Yeah,
do.
so I just wrote, I've always found the universal principle of constriction and expansion witnessed everywhere in nature, such as the birth canal, as an analogy of exactly what you're saying. And actually I find it very comforting because it's kind of like you know that after the tsunami comes the reconstruction.
Beautiful. And I think that's absolutely stunning. And it's so important for us to know what happens when people don't think the tsunami ever ends. I mean, you know, when you look at a baby coming down the birth canal, geez, it must be a frightening experience. Really, it's so narrow. And especially if the baby, I know one or two of my kids were big and it was really difficult to birth them, even though I had natural births. But the thing is that it is exactly like that. And I think when we can confront this, when we can confront it with a beautiful feeling that we're in the right place at the right time, then the constriction opens completely up, you know, endlessly. There's endless potential. Look what the Buddha said with the leaves. If you know this much, you've got enough. It's really, I'm not updating my software in the middle of a group, for goodness sake. Sorry. So it's really, really important that you understand that so well. So what I'll do is let's dedicate so that those who are really tired can go, and then I'll answer your questions. And then next week we'll get onto that. What I just want to say before you put that on, Fee, is that, you know, James Lowe has a lot of question and answer sessions where people actually send their questions, you know, send their questions by email, and then he's got them, and then he goes through all the questions. It's also nice, but I think we're doing it anyway, you know. I think we're doing it in any case together, so it doesn't really matter at this stage. But let's dedicate now, because that's a very important part of the accumulation of merit. Let's dedicate to all sentient beings who are suffering. There are so many. There are some in the building in George that collapsed, that have really died, and families that are suffering. They're the hostages, they're the wars, there's Sudan, there's starvation in Gaza, there's so many things. And we dedicate all of the merit that we have from this teaching tonight, that all of them may recover, that all of them may look deeply and see that it's just a flicker in the whole essence of being, and something which we really can pass by and get to an awakened state where it doesn't matter anymore. So through this merit, may we all achieve all-seeing Buddhahood, and thereafter, once all harmful enemies have been defeated, may all beings be liberated from the ocean of existence, stirred by the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Sonam die tamche zipane, topne nepe dranam tamshene, jeganachi balak dopaye, sipe sole doa drowarsho. So if anybody has, just hang on, let me just get